Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to show you how to make some of these little half-ounce tail spinners. It's another thing that I haven't seen on YouTube yet, so I wanted to show you guys how we make them. We got our lead pot plugged in, but you can see how small this mold is. We can't lay it on top of the mold and preheat it like normal, so I'll show you guys how we do that. We've got to make our own wire forms from scratch. It's going to be a pretty cool little video, so stick around and we'll show you how. So here we have our little tail spinner mold. Like I said, this is a half-ounce size, and as you can see, we need to build a wire form that's going to go up here for our line tie, down to the bottom side for our hook hanger, and then out the back where we can connect our swivel and our blade. I don't remember where this mold came from. A buddy of mine actually gave it to me, but I will look it up and link it down in the description. Really cool little mold. So the first thing that we need to do for this is start to build our wire form, and I'll show you exactly how I do mine. And to start for building your wire form, you're just going to need some wire. So I have this coiled wire. I use this right now because I have a lot of it on hand. However, when I run out of this wire, I'm going to order some of these straight wire shafts from Barlow's, because as you see here, we have a slight bend in our line, and it just makes it a little bit more difficult to form your wire. But you're just going to need your wire, something to cut it with, and then something to form it with. I'm going to start by cutting probably a 4 or 5 inch section of wire off, and then we're going to start forming it. Alright, so the first step in making my wire form is I start with where the line tie is going to go. Now, as you see on these pliers, it tapers up to where it'll be a bigger bend up at the top and then a smaller bend down at the end. So one way to kind of figure out where you need to put your wire is place your little wire form tools on there and just slide it over until you can see where the wire needs to be on your pliers to where it would fit in that little wire slot. So as you can see on mine, it's pretty close to the end. So we're going to make this first little bend, and then we'll go to step 2. With how small this mold is, it's going to be a little difficult to show you guys what's going on, but you can see I have that wire laying in the slot up there for the line tie. And if you have that bent just right, your line will actually, or your wire will actually come down to where you need to start making your loop for your hook hanger. What I do when I'm getting ready to make my bend for my hook hanger is I'll actually just grab the wire right at the opening and slightly turn it out, because you can see the angle that this wire is coming down. Your hook hanger would be super small, so I kind of bend it out just a little and then loop it around to give me a little bit more room. Like I said, with how small this is, it's going to be kind of hard to get on camera, but I'll try to show you step by step so it makes sense. So I put that little kink in the wire right there. So we're still in our slot for our hook or the line tie. And then when it comes down, you can see with that little kink in the wire, it comes straight down out of the bottom. And now we can just grab our wire right here and then twist that back up around to where the wire goes back up into this other little slot and back up into the body. Now that we have our bottom loop for our hook hanger, what you want to do is imagine, so where you have to come out the tail and make a loop so you can attach your swivel. So if you were to just draw an imaginary straight line from this bottom slot all the way over, you want to grab your wire right there and bend it over basically 90 degrees so that it comes straight out the back. We're going to get that little bend made, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see after we bent that line straight out the back to where it's coming out of that little slot where we attach our swivel and blade, we're going to do the same thing here that we've done for the others. We're just going to grab that wire right at the opening of this mold, bend it 180 degrees around to where that wire goes back into the body, and then at that point we just trim it off and we're good to go. So after you make that final bend, you can see you have that excess wire. So all I do is just snip it off right there to where all the wires clear, don't interfere with each other, and then you have the most wire that you can running through the body, and you have a very, very solid wire form. Once you get all your bends made and your wires trimmed, this is what it looks like. It should sit in the mold very nicely. You also, before you pour your lead, want to make sure that your wire is in line and you don't have a lot of pressure and tension twisting one way or the other. Because when you pour the lead, if this wire back here was bent to the side and we just clamped the mold together, after you pour that lead, the lead hardens, but it's still soft. So if you open the mold, the tension from this wire can actually bend the lead and make the bait not be straight and true and work properly. So make sure you've got your wire as straight as possible, and for that reason is why I probably will go away from the coiled wire and get those straight wire shafts. But once you get it all done, it should lay in the mold very nicely. And then the next step is preheat this mold. The opening, let me grab the other half. So as you can see, the opening for the lead is very small on this, and with how big the cavity is and going around that wire form, you want your lead to be very hot, you want your mold to be very hot, so that everything flows nice and even and you don't have any voids or mistakes. Because after spending the time to bend these wires, you don't want bad pours. So the way we do this is we just take our lead or our mold, close it up, pour lead in it 4 or 5 times just to get heat going through that mold. Now on the back where the wire form comes out for the blade, keep an eye on that. Lead will come out of there. I will hold this together with clamps so that my hands are nowhere near the mold. I'll take it over to my lead pot. I'll run lead through it 4 or 5 times just to get the mold nice and hot so that we don't have any issues. What I would recommend after you clamp this, keep the tail portion where the blade's going to be facing away from you so that when you pour that lead, if anything does come out, it's going away from you and not towards you, because lead will come out. So we're just going to run some lead through it. As you can see on the back, since this was the first run, it's a cold mold. It didn't actually shoot out, but it did come out of that opening. But this is what we're going to do, because you can see here, with everything being cold, you can see how you would have in soft plastics essentially what would be like cold cracking in the lead. So that's what you're going to have in the body. So we're going to run through this 4 or 5 times, get everything hot, and then we'll pour that first one. We've ran lead through these molds about 5 times now. They are screaming hot. We are going to lay our wire form in place. We're going to put both halves together, and then I want to show you something on these molds to really watch for. Let me grab my gloves because this mold is extremely hot, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so we put our wire form in there. You can see the wire sticking out right there for the line tie. You've got your wire in the back for your blade, and you can't see the one on the bottom, but the biggest one is the line tie back here for where the blade goes. So if you can see, let me hold this, it's not perfectly straight up and down and in line with that. So what I do is while it's in the mold, I don't open the mold, I'll take my pliers, just give it a real slight bend, and just make sure that it is in line with that mold prior to pouring, just to make sure that everything is nice and straight. So we are good to go on this one. I'm going to get the clamps back on this, pour some lead, and we'll check it out. And there we have our first poured bait. We got a nice clean pour. You can see very minor little blemishes in the lead as it fills up. This is a big body, so it does, if you don't have everything like so hot you can't touch it, you will get little minor blemishes like that. But when you powder coat these, that's all gone. You can't see anything and you're good to go. Now you can see we got to trim off our sprue. The lead kind of spilled over on top of this line tie, but that'll pop right off. And then in the tail portion, we do have some lead inside of our little wire form. I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife, cut it off on both sides, slide it out, and then we're good to go. And there you have the cleaned up finished product. We cut the sprue off the bottom, cleaned the lead out of that wire form. You can see that all, if I can get it to focus, you can see all our wire forms are nice and straight and in line with the body. For powder coating, what I do is just grab the wire form back here where the blade and swivel go. I'll heat my lead like normal, dip it down into my powder, and then we'll throw it in the toaster oven and get it baking. And for anyone wondering how we're going to bake this in the oven, so I have an old buzzbait wire form that I bent in the wrong spot. So now all I use this one for is hanging stuff to bake. I'm going to hang it by this, put it on my rack. We'll bake it just like normal. I'm going to make a few more of these, get them all powder coated. And while those are baking, I'll cover all the components that we're going to be using for finishing these out. And as far as components go for this, I really like these Spro ball bearing swivels. These are the size 1. They come with split rings already on them, so you'll just attach one split ring to the wire form and then the other split ring to your blade. I prefer a number 3 Colorado blade for these. That is my blade of choice. You can use willow blades if you want. I like the extra added thump of the Colorado blades. And then for the hook, I use Owner Hyperwire split rings in a number 2. I always use Hyperwire split rings on all my baits. I feel like that is by far the best split rings you can use. And then for the hooks, these are the Mustad TG76NP hooks. They're the KVD treble hooks. These are a size 6. However, you could get away with a size 8. The 8s would probably fit the bait a little bit better. I don't have any 8s on hand, so I'm going to go with these 6s. But those are almost done baking. We'll throw some hardware on and we'll check these out. And here we have the final products. I made a couple with silver blades and a couple with gold blades. You can kind of see here what I was talking about. That size 6 hook is a little bit big. But it's not big enough to where it's going to come down and tangle with your blade, so it's still very usable. But the next time I order some parts, I'm definitely going to pick up some number 8s. But either way, these work really, really good. Like I said earlier, like the Colorado blades. I prefer Colorado blades when I'm fishing slower. If I want to fish them faster, I'll probably swap it out with a willow blade. But either way, these are really cool little baits. So this first one was just a natural shad pattern that's pearl white on the belly and the Magic Crawl blue on top. This second one is Protec's new electric shad color. That purple sparkle flake is a killer little look. Really like that color. This one is one of the same colors we made in the last video. It's a candy yellow belly and a candy blue top. And then the last one is a bluegill color. So I used the Go Time color for the sides. I put a little bit of black across the top and then that orange belly. If you're in a bluegill dominant fishery, this right here is the one you need. Fantastic little bait. Really good finesse application for pressured fish. They work extremely well. And there you have it, guys. That's how we make our little tail spinners. As I mentioned, I'll leave this mold linked down in the description. I think it's one of the companies on eBay that you can pick these up from. It's not a typical mold manufacturer. I'll also leave all the components that we use linked down below. Feel free to use our Barlow's affiliate link or my code, which I'll put right here. We do appreciate all the continued support. Let us know if you guys like these kinds of videos. It's just something different, something cool, kind of like to mix it up. I don't want to just keep making the same soft plastics or lead molds over and over. And it's fun to show you guys something different. Let us know if you like these videos. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, and we'll see you on the next one.